Hey guys, Kamal here back again with another video. So today we're going to create a mini project using what we have learned in the previous video. So if you haven't seen the HTML crash course, then I highly suggest you to see that, and once you're done with that, then you can carry on from here. Alright, so today we're going to create a resume and it's going to look something like this. So without wasting any more time, let's roll the intro and let's get this started. Alright, so before starting to code, let's first see what are the divisions that we're going to use. So firstly, we have the main body itself, and it's a light gray color here, okay? So inside that body, you have a division named as box. So this white thing that you're seeing here is the box itself. Inside that box, you have the first part, that is the header. The header is divided into two components, that is the header left and the header right. These are all divisions, okay? All of these are divisions. So below that you have a horizontal line, so you can create that line in HTML using the HR tag. So we are going to see later on how we are going to create that. So below the line we have a division called as objective. In that division you have the objective heading and later the objective body. Similarly for the education as well, you have the education heading and below that you have the education body. Similarly for the skills and the activities. So in the objective heading itself, you have two parts. The first one is the logo and the second one is the objective heading itself. Similarly for education, skills and activities. So these are the main divisions that we are going to use. So now that you're clear with that, let's jump into the code. Alright, so I have created a folder called as resume mini project, and in that folder I'm going to create the index file. So it's going to be index.html. Okay, so let's first create the boiler template. So if you have seen the first video, you might know how to do this. So let's change the title to be resume. So before going further, let's first include some links, okay? So the first link is gonna be, sorry, not link actually. So the first one is gonna be the Google fonts, okay? So I'm going to import some fonts that's going to actually give a bit of styling for the text itself, okay? So I have it open here, let me bring it over. So just open your favorite browser and type in Google Fonts or something like that, then click on the first link and you'll be directed to fonts.google.com. So in that you can search for any of your favorite fonts. So I'm going to search for Poppins. So select that one. You can click on the plus icon here and that is going to generate embedded code, okay? It's going to give you a link, okay? So you can customize this link as well. So click on the customize section and select whatever categories that you want to use or whatever font weight that you want to use. So I'm going to select most of the things here, okay? So remember that if you select multiple things, then it's going to delay it, like it's going to take more time to load the font itself, okay? So just copy this link, okay? You're going to get that link, right? Copy that link and paste that link in your Google Fonts comment, okay? Below that comment. So that's going to import the library for the Poppins style, okay? Alright, so the next link that we're going to import is the Font Awesome library. So Font Awesome is actually used for icons, okay? So you can actually use the icons from the library directly. Otherwise you would have to download the icon itself, like you have to download the image of the icon, then you have to use that icon like using the image tag. But in HTML you can use the icon tag, that is I, okay? You can create an icon using I tag. For that you can directly use Font Awesome's library, okay? So they have some customized icons for you. Most of them are free, but if you want to go for the paid version, you can do that as well. So open your favorite browser and type in Font Awesome. So it's going to open fontawesome.com, okay? So if you don't have an account till now, then sign up. But if you already have an account, then please log in. Once you're done logging in, you can actually create a kit, okay? So I think it's in the start section. Yeah, so in the start section, you can actually give the name of the project and click on create and use this kit. So that's going to give or create a kit for you, okay? So I already have a kit for me. So I'm going to just copy the kit code. Okay, so after you've done creating the kit, you'll have something like this. Okay, so you can just copy the script tag. Okay, so you can copy that script tag and paste that script tag below the font awesome comment. So this script tag is going to import the font awesome library, which is the icons library. Okay, alright, so before going further, in the last video I actually forgot to mention about the meta tags, right? So if you remember correctly, the meta tags are used by the search engine to optimize their results. Okay, so whenever a person types something in the Google search engine or any other search engines, automatically the results are categorized by using the meta information from your website. Okay, so this is used for search engine optimization. So we have multiple meta tags available, and from those set we require only some of those, and some of those which are very useful. So the two things that we are going to use mainly are, one is the character set and the second is the viewport. So the first line that you see here, the character set, is actually used to define the encoding type. Okay, so this UTF-8 defines the standard encoding for the character set, and whereas the second meta tag, that is a viewport, defines the scaling of the screen size. Okay, so what happens is that when you create a website for a desktop and when you want to view that website in a mobile version, automatically the screen size is reduced, right? At that point the website has to be scaled down to fit into that screen size. So at that point this meta tag will be useful so that it can be optimized correctly. As for the last one, even I don't know what it exactly means, but as far as I know, it is something that's used to create a HTTP header. So I don't know exactly what it means, but it's something used by the search engine and you don't need to know what it means. So these are the main three things that are actually useful, and these are automatically created by the Visual Studio Code when you create the boiler template. So you don't need to worry about typing those manually. Okay, so moving on, let's create the resume itself. So if you remember correctly, inside the body we had a container or a division named as box, right? So we had a division, and inside that division we had multiple subdivisions. And the first division was named as a header. Okay, so in that header we had another division and we name it as header left. Similarly another division and we name it as header right. Okay, so the problem here is that when you type this multiple divs, you can't actually differentiate between these two divs. Okay, let's say you want to add some styling to this particular div. In CSS you have to actually call this div and add some properties, right? So let's say you want to call a person, or you want to contact a person, you have to have that person's name, right? So similarly in HTML as well, you're going to have classes and IDs. So at the base meaning, you can say that classes and IDs are more like names associated with the divisions or any other element itself. So let's say you want to have a name for this division, you can add a class to it. You can give a class and you can give a name as box. Okay, so this is going to define that this particular division and this particular division has a name of box. Similarly, you can create another division, like you had this division, right? You can give a name for it as well. It's going to be a header. Okay, similarly another division with a class name of header left. Yeah, header left, and similarly header right. What we have done is that we have actually given a name to each of these divisions. So we have a main division called as box. Inside that division we have a main container called as header. In that we have a header left and we have a header right. So these are all the names related to that particular div, so that we can easily identify that particular div. So in CSS, when you add properties to it, you have to call that particular division to give that property, right? Let's say you want to add a color of black or something like that. You can't just directly type as div and add a color. You have to give the div name so that that color property is applied to that particular div itself. So instead of class, you can actually use an ID as well. Okay, so let's say you have another div. Let's go down a bit. Yeah, so let's say you have another div, and let's say you have an ID for that. Let's give it as test. So this is also the same thing, like here you have a class and here you have an ID. So similar to the identification card or IDs that you normally wear, this is similar to that. This is also something that is useful to identify this particular div. So the ID is similar to a class, it is also a name, but the main difference here is that you can have multiple classes with the same name. Okay, so let's say you have a div or you have a division with a name of container, then you can have another div with a class name of container. So this is valid. So any property that you apply with the class name of container will be applied to both of these divisions. So what it means is that in CSS, let's say you add a color property, let's say you add color green to this container, then automatically all the elements present inside this container will be having a color of green, and this color property will not only be applied to the first container but also the second container, because we added a color property to this class name. This name is called as container, so automatically both of these divisions will have a color property of green. But let's say you have an ID of test, then what happens is that you cannot have multiple IDs. Okay, so let's say you have another div and you name that ID as test as well. This is not going to work. Okay, so for class you can have multiple classes with the same name, but for IDs you cannot have multiple IDs with the same name. So here ID is unique, so this identification is very unique, and only one division or only one element in the HTML can have a particular ID. So if this element has a particular ID of test, then this element cannot have an ID of test. It can be test1 or test2 or something like that. Okay, so classes are not unique, so you can have multiple elements with the same class name, whereas IDs are unique and only one element can have that ID. Okay, so that is classes and IDs. So both of those are used for naming conventions. You're going to see more of that in CSS part, but for now just remember that these are used for naming the elements inside the HTML. So you can actually create classes in like quickly. Okay, so let's say you don't want to type this whole thing. Normally you have to you have to type a div, you have to type a class and all of that, right? But what you can do here is that you can just give a full stop. Okay, so a full stop is used to identify a class and a hash is used to identify an ID. Okay, so you can just give a dot operator, you can just give a full stop and you can just give a name. Okay, so you can give it as header left. Once you've done with that, you can just click on tab, and that is going to generate a division with a class name of header left. You can also create an ID, so it can be it can be an ID of header left. So hash header left, then click on tab, and that is going to generate a division with a ID of header left. Okay, so remember, classes can be created using dot, and whereas IDs can be created using hash. But let's say you don't want to have a division with a class name, like let's say you want to have a container, not a container. Let's say you want to have h1 with a name of class name of test. What you can do is when you type this and click on tab, that is going to generate a division, right? Instead of that, what you can do is you can just type the h1 or h2 or anything else, like you can give the paragraph or link or image, any element inside the HTML. You can just type that shortcut, then give a dot for the class name and a hash for the ID. Okay, then you can do that, and after that you can just give the name for that and click on tab, and that is going to generate, wait a sec, so that is going to generate a class with the name of test for the element h1. Okay, so I think you have an idea of what we're going to use. Alright, so inside the header left, let's first create the name. Okay, so we had a name, right? We had the first and the last name. So let's create a container with a name of, with a class name of name. So that's going to generate a division. In that, let's give a h1 tag with a name of first name. So in that, let's type the name. So let's give caps. All of those are caps. Similarly, another h1 with the last name. Okay, so let's give it as Teja. So this class names and IDs will be quite useful when you style this whole thing in the CSS part. So for now, just remember that we are using these classes and those are used for naming conventions. So now, so in the header right, we had multiple things, right? So we had a paragraph with all our contact or social media icons and the social media links, right? So let's first add the email. Okay, so let's add the email. So let's create a division with email, and then inside that let's add an icon. Okay, so before that let's add a paragraph. So you can use a link as well, you can just add an a tag as well, you can just add an a tag that is going to create a link, but for now I'm going to use a paragraph, and I'm going to give my LinkedIn page, not LinkedIn page, my email. So it's packetcode@gmail.com, and then let's add an icon. So in HTML you can add icon using the I tag, similar to all the other tags. You can just create an icon using the I tag. So here what you can do is you can give an attribute. So that attribute is a class attribute, so you can just give a class, and you can just give a name. Okay, so what we have here is we have two names. Okay, so the first name is FAS, so this is the first class name. The second class name is FA-envelope. So you can have multiple names. Okay, so this whole thing, this whole two class names are being defined in the Font-Awesome library. So we already have imported the library, right? So in that library we already have some predefined class names. So whenever you type in that class name, automatically that icon will be taken from that library and displayed here, right? So this naming convention is being defined by Font-Awesome. So it's an online library for all the icons. It's quite difficult to remember all the names of the classes, right? So instead of that, what you can do is you can just go to the Font-Awesome website. So just go to that website, and in that just type in the search item. It's going to be email, and there you have multiple options you can select. Okay, so I'm going to go for this one. So when I click on that icon, it's going to open this thing. So here you have the icon itself, and the styling is being defined by the Font-Awesome. So what you can do is you can just click on this I that you have here. You have the I with a class name, right? You can just click on this, and it's going to be copied to your clipboard. So this is the same line that we have in our editor. Okay, so this is the same line. So when you just copy and paste it here, automatically it's going to add it. Okay, so for now let's save it till here, and let's see what we have. So let's open it with live server. So that is going to open it on a dummy server. Okay, for now we have the name, we have the first and the last name, then we have the paragraph itself, and then we have the icon. So this is the mail icon. Similarly, let's copy and paste the all the other social media links. For now I'm just going to copy and paste it here so as to reduce the time of this video. Alright, so similar to the email, also have a LinkedIn, a GitHub, and a phone. Okay, so inside that divisions I have the paragraph for the LinkedIn account and the icon for the LinkedIn, similarly for the GitHub, and similarly for the phone number. So let's save it and let's see what we have. Okay, so we have the LinkedIn, the GitHub, and the phone. So that's how you include an icon inside a HTML page. So below the header, let's add a line. So just type in HR and click on tab, and that is going to generate a horizontal line. Okay, so let's save it. So here we have an horizontal line, right? So in HTML you can create horizontal lines using the HR tag. Okay, so that represents the horizontal line or the horizontal rule. Okay, so now below the horizontal line, let's create another division with the name of objective. So just give an full stop and type in objective, click on tab, and that's going to generate a division. In that, let's give the objective head first. So in the objective head, let's type in the icon. So we are going to have the objective icon first, then the objective text itself. So let's copy that icon. So what you can do is you can go to the Font-Awesome library and you can just search for objective or something like that. You're going to get an icon. Just copy that icon and paste it here, but for simplicity I'm going to copy it from my notepad and paste it here. So below that icon, let's give a paragraph, not a paragraph, let's give a heading. So let's give it as h2, and that let's give it as objective. Yeah. So below the objective head, let's give a paragraph and let's give it as lorem 30. So that's going to generate a paragraph with 30 characters. Let's save it and see what we have. So we have an objective, and below that we have the text, right? So similarly, let's add another section. So below the objective section, let's add the education section. So we have to include the dot. So in that education section, let's add the education head. Okay, so let's give it as not education but ed head. Okay, so in that section, let's add the icon first. Below that icon, let's add the heading for the education. Okay, now below the head part, let's add a table. Okay, so let's create a table with all the academic details. So let's create a so let's create a table. So below that, let's create a table with all the academic details. So type in table, and then you're going to add a row. So it's going to be tr. In that, the first row is going to be the heading, so th. In that, let's first give it as board. So it's going to be define the board. Then below that, let's add the institution, and below that, let's add the year of passing, and finally let's add the percentage. Alright, so let's add another row with all the data. So the first data item is going to be BTech. Okay, you can go for MTech or something, not MTech, you can go for degree or something like that. Then the second data part is going to be institution. Let's give it as X, Y, and Z, not X, it's X. And then the next data item is going to be, let's say, 2050. Yeah, let's go for future planning. The next, let's give the data item as percentage. Let's give it, let's say I'm a very good student, so it's going to be 97%. It's not going to happen, but still it's better to hope, right? Okay, so let's copy that and paste it 2 more times. So one is going to be the intermediate. Let's change the data. It's intermediate. Yeah. Then the last one, you can give it as 10th, so it can be SSC or CBSE. Okay, so just save it here. Don't worry about the other data items, but for now let's save it and see what we have. So we have the education, we have the icon, we have the text itself, we have the first row with the headings, and the second and the third and the fourth with all the data items. Okay, so we have till here. Now below the education section, let's add a skill section. So let's give it as skills. So inside that skill section, let's add the skill head. Right, so in that, let's add the icon first. So below that, let's add the heading. Let's give it as skills. So below the head, let's create a list item. It's going to be an unordered list. In that, let's create a list item with let's say all the languages that I know. It's going to be this and CSS and all of that. So I'm just going to copy and paste it here. So we have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, PHP, and MySQL. So these are all the languages in web development. Okay, so fine. So let's save it here and see. So we have the skills with the icon and the heading. We have all the skills listed. Okay, so below that section, let's add the final section. Let's give it as achievements or accomplishments. Okay, let's give it as achievements. You can go for activities as well. So in that achievement section, let's add the achievement head, and that let's give the icon first. Below that, let's give the heading. Okay, so below the achievements head section, let's add a paragraph. Let's give some dummy data. Type in lorem and 50 tab. That's going to create some dummy data. So let's save it and let's see. So below the skill section, we have the icon with the data and all of this. Fine, so it's working. Okay, so let's just cross check for now. Yep, we are done. Okay guys, so we are done with the HTML part. So this is the bare bones structure for the resume itself. So in the next video, we're going to learn CSS part, and the video after that we are going to implement the CSS to create or to modify the resume and create something more impactful. Okay, alright guys, so that's it for this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then please do subscribe, and if you like this video, then please hit the like button, because that's going to motivate me to make more free video content for you like this. And thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.